Good morning, this is Hero again, and what do we have? We have this pine tree that needs work. Well, good morning. What do we have here? Well, this is one of my most prized of the black pines. Well, mainly because they belong to my uncle. So he probably started after World War II, so it's quite old. Now you're looking at this and wondering, why is it so out of shape or so unkept? Well, what happened about 2 years ago was it was getting unhealthy. The needles were yellow, just look kind of anemic. And what happens with pines is to finish, we need to shorten the needles and get that finished look. Well, that could lead to unhealthiness. So every so often, you have to revive it. So this has been revived in the last 2 years. I took it out of the slightly smaller container, reworked the roots and the soil, and put it in a larger container and fed it well. Okay, that's why we have what we have right now. And so today's job is we're gonna take this back and then we're gonna slowly get it back into the finish. And remember, we talked about it before, bonsai is never finished. But we're gonna try to make it look better than it is now. And it's gonna be more than a 1 year project. It's going to take multiple years to get it back to that kind of the show class that we talk about. So that's what we're going to do today. So stay tuned. Remember, we talked about the health of a plant. Well, when you go like this, it pokes and it hurts so that it's in really good shape. So now I got to gear up, make sure that I don't get poked. And well, what happens when I get poked? I get a rash. So I'm geared up for the first step, which is to remove these big ones, the indication that it was very healthy. We don't want it anymore. So we use this random growth to regain the health, but now we get rid of it. So this part will go quickly. So I'll go ahead and do this whole thing and get back to you. Just getting rid of the very vigorous growth. This is only the first round, so don't think that I'm trying to finish this thing. I just want to get this back so that we could see what we have to work with. See, there's a nice bonsai inside here. It's been covered up. But this kind of steps are necessary if you're gonna have long-term bonsai. Now this thing is probably more than 50 years old. I'm not sure exactly when my uncle started this, but you know, the Japanese community was put in that relocation camp. So, you know, people that said they have a 100-year-old bonsai, I'm not sure whether it's that true or not. Anyway, it's one of my most prized one just because okay, let me kind of brief you on where we are. Okay, I cut off quite a bit, and I'm going to cut some more. Now, at the end of this episode, we are not going to have a finished product. What I'm trying to do now is maintain this health, but open it up so that the light would go through here and trigger the inner buds. Okay, and luckily there's still plenty of buds in here that we could keep this tight. All the energy went back here. I cut those off, and then now we're trying to keep this as a tight bonsai, right? So I also need to go back up here and thin this out. And then when I get done for today, it's not going to be finished. And those are the things that you have to remember. A good bonsai takes time. Well, see right in here, I cut this back, and all these little buds that coming up, they need to get strong because I want this to be tight. So that's what I'm going to do, is to stop about now, fertilize this, put it out in the sun again, and hopefully this area will start to come back with smaller, more proportional growth. And that's what I'm going to go for next. So, what did we learn today? Hopefully, if you have an unhealthy plant, you needed to revive it. In this case, it took 2 years. Depends on how bad it was, the species. It may take shorter time or longer. But make sure that it comes back healthy enough to move to this next stage. So that's what I did today, is to take all those vigorous growth that was very healthy. That's why I had to protect myself from all that poking needles. Healthy needles will punch right through t-shirts. Anyway, that's what I did, and although it does not look like a finished product, it's going to take a number of years for this to be finished again. So even on a 50-plus-year-old plant, the finish could be away. I mean, it was finished once, and then it got unhealthy, and then we're going through this cycle again. So between 3 and 5 years before I could say that this is show ready. As I get ready to wrap this up, I'll show you how much I clipped off and what it looks like now. And like I keep saying, this is not finished. It's just the first step in the recovery. I'm thinking that maybe next year I might do some major restyling. There's some branches in there that can now go, but I don't want to do that this year. I want to spend the summer reviving those very tight buds that's in there and go with that. So what I'll do is to fertilize this, put it in the sunny location, and let it revive. And hopefully this coming year I could trim this 2-3 times, smaller trimming, so I don't have to. So in the art of bonsai, we don't use the same technique over and over again, especially pines. So depending on the situation, you have to do things differently. Hopefully you got something out of this relatively short chapter. This is Hiro saying goodbye, and I'll see you again real soon. So probably you'll see this pine in the future. I think I have footage from the past. You might recognize it. So this is one that belonged to my uncle Yutaka. He's the one that kind of got me started in bonsai. And he's also left me a handful of good material that I developed over the last 30 some odd years. So when I got this, it did not look like this. I got it to look like this, but it was started by my uncle. Okay, so anyway, this is Hiro saying goodbye, and I'll see you again real soon in another chapter.